of apoptotic bodies and so on. So it has to have a cell die and recycle and use the material for another cells and so on. And the pathway has been worked out with cascade in the apoptosis, programmed cell death. You can easily see in the rotten apple. So how did we perceive things? Through a sixth sense sphere, sixth sense organ, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Eye sees sight, ear hears sounds, nose smell, tongue taste, body contact with touch, and mind generate and perceive thoughts and so on. In the West, they only have 5 senses, right? In Buddhism, they call it the 5 sensual desire: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. But Buddhism said there's thoughts, which is even more dangerous. The mind. So in Buddhism, there's 6 sense sphere, not just 5. Is that enough? We learn medical school, like you have your eye, perceive sight, and then you go to the back of the brain called visual cortex, visual center, at the very back of the brain. That's the optic pathway, optic tract, and so on. But that's not enough. Buddhism said no. That's what we learned 4 years ago. Now they said more than that. I'll show you how. You still need mind consciousness, sometimes called heart. It's the mental aspect. The mind itself at the resting stage called alaya vijnana, a repository consciousness. It's like when you're in deep sleep. Okay? Resting mind. But something like flashing, the flash come up, it just draw you in there. What happened? You have Panchattvara Vachanacita. Eye consciousness let you realize the flash. Okay, you cannot use your eye consciousness to hear neither. You have to have ear consciousness to hear me. So very specific. Okay, nasal consciousness, you cannot use your eye consciousness to smell neither. That's a bit nasal consciousness. So is tongue consciousness, body consciousness. They're very specific by itself. So this 5 sense sphere, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, contact, can perceive the physical aspect like sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. But the mind consciousness can perceive those physical as well as mental. They can perceive sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and also perceive thought. How can your mind perceive sight, sound, smell, taste, touch? It's through this eye consciousness, ear consciousness, indirectly, okay? But it can be very dangerous. I'll show you why. But my consciousness can only perceive by the mind, not the other 5 aspects. And this is called Planetary or interactive mind. It's been flashed into, you see the spark of the light. It draws you in there. The eye consciousness arises and so on. And when it's functioned, it's stopped. It's done the job. So you need 3 parts of each sense sphere. So make it 18 elements, 3 parts for each. This is how neuroscientists said, what is cognition? Cognition is the way in which our thoughts may form, maintain, and discontinue. It's what the Buddha described as arising, enduring, and ceasing. It's like a bell-shaped curve. This has happened in all sorts of cells, like our heart cell has polarization and depolarization, like this one cycle. It happens all the time, such as you see a lotus, it flashed you that, you saw that. Then what happened if something in motion? So each one is like a snapshot, okay? Like this monk was jumping. You know, if it's running like 24 frames per second, you see it's a movie. But it's each shot, right? Now we can't tell it much because it's coming TV. It's still scanning from the top to bottom, you know that? It's not like one frame. But in the picture, the movies, it's one frame. 24 frames when it runs it per second, you see it's a movie. It's seamless. Same thing with if you take a stroboscope, you can see this monk was jumping in different frames. So it's a mind, working in different frames, rising and falling all the time. So thought process has been described over 2,000 years ago in the third part of Tripitaka, the Buddhist canon, 17th step of Viticitra, in Abhidhamma, psychology and philosophy and physiology of the mind of Buddhism. See, it's like a bell-shaped curve from the resting mind into a active, interactive mind, and then fall back. But this is more like sawtooth here, but it's bell-shaped basically, or it can swing up and down like this. You start from the resting bhavanka. Past bhavanka means the resting mind, like a deep sleep. When you're resting and then something like flash pop up, it's prompted by that. And then it starts catching it. It's called vibrating bhavanka. Bhavanka chalana, atita bhavanka chalana, bhavankupacceta. A rest mind, a rest bhavanka. It stopped from resting. It's been activated into panchatavara Vajracitra. It's through the eyes, or you hear my sound, it's the ear consciousness. The sense door through your eyes or your ears activated. And there's corresponding sense consciousness, eye consciousness being activated, or ear consciousness being activated, pancha vinyana, or chakku vinyana, sota vinyana, and so on. And then sampatichana chit, that means receiving consciousness from, say, the visual cortex being transferred to the part, like the superior temporal gyrus, to interpret what the sound meant, or what's the sight meant, it's a flashing light, and so on. And then there's santirana citta, that means investigating what was that light, flashlight, not just a spotlight or a light bulb, and so on. Votapana citta will determine consciousness, will determine is that something valuable, invaluable, and so on. What's meant by that flashlight? Then there's chavana citta, impulsion. You indulge in it 7 steps. So this. Then the last 2, you call tatalampana citta. You register consciousness. I love those flashlights. Maybe they take my picture. They register it. You hit that flashlight into my eyes, I might get cataract. You interpret, you bias in there. If you love it, you register, or you hate it, you register too. Like, say, this is dangerous, or this is lovable. So when a person in the state of profound sleep, with a vacant mind, is in the state of bhavanka, that resting mind, that's the background of your mind. Like the moment you're born until you die, that's bhavanka citta. And then in daily activity it's called Viticitra. So the flow of bhavanka is interrupted when an object enters the